that she wanted the European Union to craft a middle ground solutions between the G77's expectations of a second binding commitment deal and the reality that that's not going to happen. I was wondering, do you agree with that? And if so, what bargaining chips or ideas will you be bringing to the table in Germany, and what will you hope to get in return?
We are, of course, very much working on middle ground solutions. We would have liked to see an ideal solution. We know we are not going to get that. Everybody should not realize that. But we are working on middle ground solutions, and after this interview also I will have the chance to discuss more in details with Christiana, and she of course also knows what we are sort of preparing. So it's not a secret to the sort of in the internal negotiations, but I would not sort of go into a lot of details about all the details and what we are negotiating.
Okay, well, if not details, can you at least talk about elements like public sector finance, a financial transaction tax, aviation, whatever it is, and what you might expect in return?
No, the financial part, of course, is extremely important because we know that a lot of developing countries have a potential, but they also need financial assistance to get it. But we just also need to make people realize there is simply no way that we will be able to collect 100 billion US dollars each year from 2020 and onwards only through public means. It has to be a mix between public money, private money, the carbon market, and also some of the more innovative financial things. And of course, we are also not just giving money away. We must be sure that then in return, the world will get progress in mitigation and adaptation.
So specifically mitigation and adaptation. Is carbon levies for shipping an idea?
Yeah, the European finance ministers, as late as yesterday, adopted a sort of council conclusions where they said that this could be one of the things considered. You know, we already have included aviation in ETS in Europe. We are considering what to do with shipping, but we are open to the idea of having some kind of contribution from these truly global sectors, also financially.
Okay, well the news today has been bad, as Fiona mentioned, in terms of the IEA report. Arthur Neslen is also saying that on current trends we're on a trajectory for 3.5 degrees to 4 degrees global warming. Now that particularly hits low-lying island nations, which could be completely submerged as a result. This is why AOSIS warned last week that they were worried that in fact they said it would be politically reckless or irresponsible to push a treaty date back to 2018, 2020. Do you agree?
Yes, that is a European position. We would have liked to see it several years ago, and that is of course why we have very good contacts with the Pacific Island states, with the OSIS states, with the least developed countries, the most vulnerable countries. And I think that it's very important that these vulnerable and least developed countries understand that although they are in the same group, G77 plus China, as many of the emerging economies, they must realize that without the contributions of these emerging economies, together with that of Europe and the United States and Canada and Russia and what have we simply will not be able to get the things done with the speed and in the scale that we need.
Are you more optimistic that a second Obama presidency term might bring more progress in finding a binding treaty?
I mean, we have to believe that at some point the United States will move in this field. Of course, as a European, I would very much like to see some more American leadership here. I understand what the political situation in Washington is, but I think it's very crucial that all of us lives up to sort of the best of our ability and understand why, if you want a leadership position in the world, then you also have to deliver on this.
Okay, just in terms of climate finance, do you think there is a problem, well, there clearly is a problem in terms of defining what new is and what additional is in climate finance? How would you like it to be defined?
I think that it is probably best not to waste a lot of energy in defining it too much. Why is that? Because what really matters is that money is now starting to come. President Barroso and myself went to the Pacific Island forums in September, discussed with 14 heads of states. I was so pleased to hear from them, some of the most vulnerable countries in the world, that they told us now we can see that the fast start money from Europe is starting to come. I can say on behalf of the Commission, all our fast start money is 100% new and additional, but I can also see that in some member states and in a lot of other states around the world, they are also mainstreaming climate thinking into their development programs. And therefore, it ends up being a not too constructive debate. What really matters is that the money that was pledged in Copenhagen will come, and at the same time, that we are much better at integrating climate thinking into the development strategies, into getting access to energy, into eradicating poverty. If we continue to sort of deal with climate here and development here and energy access here, then there won't be money enough in the world to do it with the speed that we need.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.